Peace and light, old guy Australia, coming to you from a very warm Cobargo. I've been up doing a roof, and I just had this come to me, and I thought I better get out and share it while I can, because who knows, how it'll all go or turn out, because everything's off the cuff with me, and everything I say to you is my truth. My truth. It doesn't mean it's the truth. It's my truth, and you can take it any way you want. I don't care whether you want to debate me about it or tell me I'm wrong or agree with me. It makes no difference to me. Every time I do a video, I said to someone this morning, every single time I do a video, someone writes to me and says, wow, that was great, or I really needed to hear that, I shared that with my dad, my brother, my sister, my uncle, my husband, my wife, whatever. It's quite amazing. I had another guy write to me and say, he's got a mate who watches my videos, and his wife banned me from the house, said he's not allowed to watch the videos inside the house. Happy days. So I'm going to lean on the gate. And what I wanted to say to you is, I've had a fair bit of kickback, I guess, on the whole, Christian role in this whole pandemic. I remember years ago, I belonged to a large church up in Brisbane. I think it was 6,000 to 10,000, depending on how it all went over time. Yeah, that big it was. Out at Weka Road in Mansfield, in Brisbane. Anyway, we had this guy come from America, a guy called Brian Rudd. And Brian Rudd was an American evangelist, and he was one of the most gifted speakers I think I've ever heard. He really was, in the terms of the church of the times, he really was charismatic. He was a very good speaker, tremendous speaker. He knew his Bible like you would not believe. He knew his Bible inside out. He was so good. And his sermons were delivered with passion. He had this fantastic speaking voice, and, it was very powerful, very moving, and riveting stuff. We had thousands turning up to his sermon. He had sermons of a night time, and I remember being a deacon there and at the church, and we took up an offering. That was in the days when they didn't have the ATM machines, which they now have. They pass out along the crowd, or you can just have it electronically, debited from your account, that kind of thing. So I remember we went out and we were doing a count out the back of the money that we'd taken up. It was something like, $52,000, let's say. A substantial amount of money. And Clark Taylor was a minister then, and he just said, just you boys stay here for a minute. And he went back out and he put a rocket up the arse of the church, called them everything under the sun, how, faithless they were, and how God, would struggle to bless them in a sense. I don't know what he said, I was out the back, but he basically tore them a new one and told them to dig deeper. And I don't even know how much we took, I can't remember, but it was probably another 15,000 on top of that came out. And this one I was getting, these are called gifts, or love offerings, you're tax free. And so this guy was getting this every sermon basically, and it was quite astonishing. I remember thinking, wow, this is some insane amounts of money this guy was raking in. And we didn't question it, because you're not allowed to question it really, and also because, he's a man of God and he was preaching the word of God. That's what we thought. Plus he was selling merchandise and all the tapes. The Christian Outreach Centre was selling the tapes, doing tapes at the time of the sermons, and they couldn't print them quick enough, you'd have to actually put an order in to get them. And I remember, because we had a group above us, a group of ministers, who was about 10, and they were all the senior pastors at the time, and I was doing my theology there, out at Mansfield, and I never forget the day we found out that Brian Rudd was a fake. His whole story about being wanted by the FBI and Jasper Rowling, and God changed his fingerprints and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was hard to believe when you think about it, but back then it was pretty heady stuff. And so we found out that he'd just been lying, and it created this schism in the church, because some people just thought, well, okay, but maybe he was lying, maybe he wasn't. If he was, God still used him to bring people to Christ, and so that's all that matters, And others were like, man, how did the hierarchy not know this? How did they all get fooled? And then they would go, oh, because God allowed it, and he blinded them and let them. I'm like, oh my God, the amount of excuses Christians can make is just astonishing, you know. And it began my questioning of faith. Now, the interesting part about that is last week I did a couple of videos on Christianity versus Christians and what role they played in the pandemic, you know, and why they capitulated, why they didn't stand up, why they allowed themselves to be manipulated by the government and abused and mocked and derided. And I kind of tried to get across to see if anybody would understand that the point I was trying to make was it wasn't the Christians, in a sense. It was the hierarchy, the leaders of those churches. Charismatic movement, the Baptist Church, the Anglican Church, the Presbyterians, Catholics, their leaders were sent emails and they sent them down to the underlings and little churches and whatever and told them, look, this is the government rules, we've got to abide by these. But from the top down, they capitulated instantly. They never ever questioned it once, and I got to thinking why. And I was on the roof and I'm thinking, Christianity is often called faith, and people often get a little mixed up and they misconstrue the two. And it's not faith they have, it's a belief. And it's not faith, it's belief. Faith is a verb, it's a doing word, it's an action. Faith is something you have. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I guess, you know, we're not humans on a spiritual journey at all. A lot of people think we are, but we're not. We're spiritual beings having a human journey, a human one, and that's the difference. You just got to look at things a little differently and understand that this really is a battle of good versus evil. I cannot, in my lifetime, ever recall, and I guess it's because of social media and also because of the access to the internet, the availability and the acknowledgement of so much evil in this world. I mean, it's putrid. I don't love this world at all. I think it's absolutely putrid. It's a shocking world. You know, we live in a world where children are systematically, regularly sold and trafficked and killed and raped and mutilated and beaten and sexually, the most perverse shit. And I'm talking thousands and thousands of children every single day, right across the world. And the media is complicitly silent. You know, it's just horrendous. Now, I have people say to me, you know, oh, it's not all about the children, you know, it's all about the bloody end times, it's about the mark of the beast, and it's about this and it's about that. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you be the toe, you know, you be the hand, you be the brain, you be the ear, you be the mouth, you be the eyes, you be whatever you want to be on the body. I'll just be the butthole. And for me, happily being the butthole, it's all about the children. I don't care about anything else. The rest of it I'll have to deal with, but it's all about the children. That's what sickens me more than anything else on this planet. The ritualistic, sadistic, ritual abuse of children on this planet with a complicit knowledge of the media and so many politicians. We currently have current serving politicians known in police files as pedophiles, and nobody's wants to expose those names. I'm shocked, you know, that people don't care. I think it's the apathy that really bothers me more than anything. In America, everybody's a Christian. You ask them, they'll say they're Christians. In Australia, well, we've got the lowest rate of Christianity, or Christians, I guess, around the world nearly. It's pretty bad. You know, and England's just released a statement over there in England that church attendance is at a world record low. I wonder why. I wonder why. We didn't stand up. Nobody stood up. We capitulated like the rest of them. Gave in, threw the towel in the ring, didn't do anything, just went along. It's just horrendous. It's just horrendous. Anyway, that's what I had to get down to tell you. Peace and light, that old guy Australia. Just remember this. Try and be a human being and not just a human doing. Peace and light, that old guy Australia. Like, share, subscribe, Instagram, YouTube. We'll catch you soon.